Okay, y'all, I am so excited for this week's video. This is a video that I have done in the past, and this is the second time that I'm going to be doing this. It is entirely inspired by Mariah Elizabeth, and I love watching her videos, so be sure to go check her out. And let's see if what I can come up with is even half as good as the creations that she makes. So if that hasn't given it away, I am going to be doing squishy makeovers for this week. So I've done squishy makeovers one time before, and we have these cute little guys. So I did my Sunny the hamster, Pearl the Pop-Tart, and then I did my poop into a little dollop of whipped cream with sprinkles and a cherry. Okay, so in this batch of squishies, this was the only one that I really altered. But this week, I'm going to do two squishies, and both of them are going to be completely altered, not just painted to look like something different. So I'm really excited. I really hope that what's in my mind can come to life. So I have my Galaxy Llama, a cute little cake. I have a Hello Kitty donut, a macaron, a super grimy ice cream cone, and a cappuccino. The majority of these will be built, hi Drax, will be created in one, hi, will be put together into one big squishy. You wanna say hi? Hi, sweet boy. More loves. Oh, so good. Oh, you just drooled on me.
Okay, so here is my first squishy I'm gonna do. It is my Galaxy Llama or alpaca with this weird green mouth. Like, did you get sick? I don't know. But it's this range of purple to blue to pink. It's got this cute little tail and then this gaping hole in its head. I think someone sucked its brain out. I mean, it's so big and it goes so deep in there. I don't even know what to do with it. The squish on this guy is so good though. It is nice and slow and it just feels so good. Look at this guy. He squeezes down and it takes him a long time to form back into shape. Once he's finally back into his normal shape, I'm going to give his whole body a good scraping. I'm going to scrape off that top layer so there's a bunch of little spots where you can see the foam through it. That means that the paint is going to stick. So here I'm going to go through and trim up all these crazy edges. I noticed that some of these squishies have really rough edges that I've been working with lately. So I need to address those edges. And then you'll see there's a bunch of buildup in between the legs, and that is like the most bothersome thing ever. So I have this big hole in the ear to take care of, and then all of those crazy edges. I realize there's a hole in the back of the ear too, so we're gonna have to touch that up. The first thing you'll notice in this one is that I do things out of order. So here I start painting. I paint a whole layer of white over it and then realize that I didn't fix any of the issues. So here I'm going back. I'm shoving a new brain in that little llama alpaca's head. And then I have to go through and trim that up and make sure that it fits. I do realize towards the end, and you'll notice a little bit, but I overstuffed his head a little bit. So I need to remember to use a little bit less next time. I did pull a little bit of that foam out and just trimmed off a little bit of the edge to try and make it fit a little bit better. That white layer of paint that I did help the ears a little bit, so I'm just going to go in and fill that hole. I ended up doing a bunch of layers and still didn't quite get enough. Try and put a first layer over this hole, which I did like 27 layers of to try and even it out. And that white base that I did helped with the ears, so I'm just going back in and I'm going to reconstruct some of the edge there to help reinforce, to make sure those holes don't come back in the ears. So I'm feathering it out with a paintbrush to make sure that there aren't any lumps or bumps left. Then I'm going to add this little makeup sponge to the back. It's kind of like those little blankets that they put on the back of alpacas to keep them warm, I think. I don't really know, but I like the idea of it, so I rubber band that on there, and then we give it 30 minutes to dry. And once it's all dry, then I take those rubber bands off to make sure that it is good to go, and it was. So then I'm going to touch up all the edges with the white puffy paint, and then same thing, smooth it out so there aren't any lumps and bumps later. I'm going to do a layer of that puffy paint over the top because those makeup sponges really soak it in. Here I'm taking this pig, and I'm just cutting off his ear because I had every intention of giving this guy a little party hat. You'll see that party hat, but you'll see that this squishy takes a dramatic turn. What we start with, we don't even come close to the same thing at the end. So this is quite the transformation that this guy makes. Once I get the round look that I like, I try it on for size, make sure that it's the right look I'm going for, and I put some glue on there, realize that I can't glue it straight to the paint, so I scrape off a little bit of its head there, get it back to that foam stage so the glue will really hold, get it on there, and then I rubber band it down. I wanted to make like a little bolo hat, you know, those little round ones. They make like the miniature size ones for New Year's and things like that. So you'll see what it ends up looking like. It's pretty interesting, but we give that 30 minutes. Once that is all done, we take it off and, you know, let his neck kind of smooth back out. There we go. And then I'm going to reinforce the edges just like the rest of it, feather it out, make sure there's no lumps, and get that sucker on there real good. Initially, I wanted this to look like a realistic alpaca, so I painted it this brown color, and it just wasn't doing it for me. So you're about to see the quickest transformation of all time, which actually took a couple days of figuring out and deciding what I wanted to do. So just get ready. Here it comes. We have one switch to mint, one switch to a light green, and where'd that hat go? There it is. Look at that little party hat. We trimmed that bad boy right off because that was looking real weird, people. So here I'm pulling out the big guns. I got the glue gun, and I decided to start gluing on these little pom-poms to create a party hat. So we went from brown to mint to a light minty green, and now he has a sparkly little party hat going on. So I decided to paint that blanket a blue color, and I needed to add a little bit more pigment because that makeup sponge just soaks up all of that paint. So I did a whole bunch of layers to get that blue look, get that color that I really wanted. I thought that it just really matched with the light mint. So then I went back in, and just like the mouth that I hated from the beginning, I ended up painting it a mint color. So similar to that green sick look that he had initially, but with the mint, I thought it looked pretty nice. So here I go in and I touch up the inside of the ears, make sure I do both sides, obviously. So get the mint going. We've got it on the ears, we have it on the nose, and then I'm going to give him this little tuft of chest hair. You can see all the texture on the bottom where the hair starts, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of detailing so you could kind of understand what that texture stood for. So a little chest hair never hurt anybody. Here I'm adding black to the eyes, and I left the eyes exactly how they were because I thought they were pretty fitting with where the nose was and all that good business. So now I'm going to take these puff balls that I used on his hat, and I'm going to create tassels on his blanket. So here I'm using the glue gun again, and I am just making sure that I am getting all of those puff balls exactly where I wanted them. I realized once I did this that I had put the blanket on lopsided, so you'll notice that the puff balls don't quite line up evenly, but that's because I didn't put the blanket on even. So that was my bad from the get-go. Once I get all of these little guys on there, I had to kind of address the spider webs, so I picked those off, and here he is. He is just the cutest little party llama. He's got his puffy little hat, he's got his tassel blanket, and he is just so cute. You can see I went in and added some more purple to the blanket. I just thought it needed a little something extra. If I had to change one thing, I would not have the purple next to the orange on the party hat, but you know, if that's the worst thing that came out of this transformation that went from 3 different paint colors to becoming this fun little party animal, I think I can live with it. This next squishy that I make involves a lot of the squishies that I opened in my last unboxing video. So the main base of this squishy is going to be this cappuccino cup. I took the little kitty cat head off, and then I'm going to take this ice cream scoop off of the cone. Here I've got my Hello Kitty donut. We're peeling off that chocolate drizzle, and then I'm going to trim off that cute little bow because in this one we won't need it, but I'm definitely going to save it for later. I also have this macaron and this little cake. So here I'm starting to pile it on, and my idea for this was I wanted to create one of those milkshakes that you see in like New York or Las Vegas where they just jam that sucker full of desserts. So we're going to make this big, huge dessert, and it was quite the Tetris puzzle of yummy goodness. I played around, I figured out what I thought would look best, and it took a lot of trial and error to kind of figure out how it would fit best. So then I took my fabric fusion glue and I started gluing things on. I glued all of the lighter objects on first. So I have the donut, the macaron, and the scoop on there, but that cake is so heavy, so I rubber banded all of these ones down first so that I could make sure that they were good and solid before I added the heavier one. So 30 minutes later, I take all of the rubber bands off, and after that sort of treatment with these really soft squishies, you have to give them a lot of time to rise. That donut really struggled. So here I went to go add on that cake slice, and that sucker is heavy. So I used a lot of glue, put it on there, rubber banded that guy by itself to make sure that it was good to go. And then 30 minutes later, popped those rubber bands off, and to my surprise, we were actually good. It was holding on just fine. It made the squishy a little bit lopsided, and sometimes it has a hard time standing, but we'll address that later. So here I put a nice thick coat of puffy paint on all of the raw edges, and you guys, don't use a dark puffy paint when you're planning on painting it light. Here I had cut off this little guy, I don't know what it is, like a little flowery detail. Maybe it's a really soft dollop of whipped cream, but I decided I wanted it back on there, so re-glued it on, feathered out those edges, and then gave this whole entire combination sweet treat milkshake a white makeover. And this took a long time. I mean, this squishy has so many things happening, and to cover up that green, it took quite a lot of paint. So I'm covering, trying to get rid of all of those yucky shades of green that were on there. I think every squishy except for the ice cream had some sort of weird green thing going on. So here I start painting the cake, and I'm just painting it a basic color of regular old cake, you know, like the box stuff that you make when you're not like super good at baking. And I really like that color. I think it complements my theme. And the theme that I decided to go with was a strawberries and cream. So I wanted to use all pinks and whites and create this strawberry milkshake. So I got to cover up this whole donut, get it completely covered in that tan color. And then I went in with 2 different colors of pink for the frosting inside of the cake, and then used a really nice light pink for the frosting on that cake. When you do cakes like that in the milkshakes, they usually put a stick through it, so I might have to figure out how to do that next time. Here I'm doing the macaron in a darker color. And then I started playing with the swirl. I had no idea what to do with it, so I just left that and decided to come back to it. I painted the milkshake one entire color. I painted it one coat of a solid color, is what I meant to say. And then I'm going to go in and just decided that was too boring, so I went for an ombre effect. I used all the colors in my pink scale of paints, and blended it down so that I had the whole thing covered. Then I thought I was using white paint on my donut to make the frosting and realized I had grabbed my iridescent paint, which I didn't like. Decided that this swirl was a confusing situation, so I painted it just a darker pink because I wanted it to imitate a strawberry for the strawberries and cream. Here I'm adding a cream layer, which is supposed to be like the whipped cream was on there, and then they shoved all the treats in there. So then it was squishing out over the edges. And just like that edge, I am going to cover the entire whip with that creamy, thick colored, what's that called? Puffy paint. Here I'm gluing on a straw, and that caused some difficulties because then my donut glued shut. And I had to do some surgery, but we got that figured out. Cut the straw to the size that I was happy with. And then I went through and had to do the whole backside with that puffy paint. And you guys, I swear, each coat took like 9 hours. This squishy took so much puffy paint and so much time to dry. But you guys, it turned out so cool. All of the little details, I just went back in and touched up. I adjusted the macaron so that the center part was a lighter pink. And then once I got that all finished up, we touched up this strawberry and then fixed that frosting. I hated that it was iridescent, so I just did a light layer of white over top and then went in with some red, pink, and purple to create the drizzle. So I have this darker crimson for the drizzle, and then I decided to go in with little dots, and you guys, this is what it looks like. I'm so obsessed with it, but you'll see, look at my hand creep on the right. Oh! This squishy has a really hard time standing up. If you put it on a surface that tilts, like my table, on one side, it's good to go. But once that cake hits that far side, it just wants to tip so badly. But you guys, I am so happy with how this turned out. It is a milkshake that I would just die to have. Look at that, all the sweet treats you could possibly want, a pretty iridescent straw, and that ombre milkshake effect. I am just so obsessed. Oh, and you thought that was the end? Surprise! I decided I wanted to do one more because there was so much drying in between the processes. So I grabbed out this thick little unicorn from my last unboxing video, and I decided to give her a simple update. So first I had to address this toenail. She has this like little stone that's stuck in there. So I took some time to get that sucker out there and then had to trim up all of the edges. The edges on this one was really bad, and I didn't do enough coats to kind of fix them all. So that was my bad. I gave her a good little scratch, made sure that she was paint ready. And then once I got that all figured out, I took some of the memory foam and tried to fix that poor little toe of hers that now had this huge hole. So once I get that in there, I trim it up to the right size. And then once I get that settled in, do a layer, I think I did maybe 4 or 5 layers of the puffy paint, but I should have done more. Then I went over with a fresh coat of white so that her body was shiny and pretty again, so it didn't have any more of that grime. And then I created some iridescent paint. So what I did is I put my tulip paint, mixed it with a little bit of white so it would be more pastel, and then put in a whole bunch of that iridescent puffy paint. This gives you that good balance between paint and puffy paint, so you kind of get the best of both worlds when you do that. And then I went in and touched up her hair I wanted it, instead of just being pink, I wanted it to be rainbow because I think that unicorns are just special. They deserve to have more than just one color. So she got every color of the rainbow. I went in, not that you can see it because I'm out of the camera range, but I went in and did a whole bunch of different layers in this rainbow effect. And after about 7 layers, that's what it looks like. So nice and dark once you put in a lot of time. And I kept with her regular eye shape again. I didn't want to be too crazy because she has crazy hair and I wanted her to just be simple and cute. So I added her eyes and just added some little nose holes, which she didn't have before, but I felt like it needed it. Then I went in with this gold to make her horn all finished. And you guys, this little gal was not as quick as you would think, but so much fun to do. I loved getting to use all the colors of the rainbow, and I love that it was iridescent. I made her tail rainbow as well, and she is just so sweet. You guys, I had so much fun making these squishies this week, and I hope you had as much fun watching. Let me know what you guys think I should do next time. Leave me some comments, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. See ya!